Right now, you might literally be tying a catastrophic injury directly onto your feet.
Yeah, and you're doing it precisely because you think those shoes are keeping you safe.
Exactly. I mean, you aren't doing anything extreme. You aren't falling from a great height or like colliding with another player. You're just stepping onto the court to play.
Right, just a normal game.
But you could trigger an injury so severe that it alters your life. And it's all because of a hidden variable you literally laced up before leaving the house.
It's terrifying when you actually break it down.
It really is. So we are Brent and April, and welcome to Pickleball Partner, the podcast. Today we are taking a deep dive into the one shoe mistake that rips your Achilles tendon.
And honestly, the stakes here really could not be higher. Today is about understanding the mechanics, the real why behind the structural danger in your athletic routine.
Because what you don't know about your footwear it can absolutely devastate your body.
Right. Specifically when we talk about court sports, the core claim we're looking at today is that wearing the wrong shoe on the pickleball court is not just a fashion mistake.
No, definitely not.
And it's not just like suboptimal for your game. It is a literal biomechanical trap.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the foundation of this entire warning rests on one very specific, unyielding fact about modern athletic gear.
Which is?
Running shoes are built for forward motion. That is the starting point.
Exactly. Just straight ahead.
When I think about that, it honestly makes me think of a bullet train. Like, if you look at a locomotive, it's an absolute marvel of engineering, right?
Oh, for sure.
It has massive power, specialized wheels, incredible efficiency. But it's built to do exactly one thing, which is go forward on a fixed set of tracks.
Right. It doesn't do tight turns.
No. So wearing running shoes for pickleball feels like taking that high-speed train and just driving it right off the tracks into an open field.
That is a perfect analogy.
It's engineered flawlessly for moving in exactly one linear direction. And the second you take it out of that linear path, you're just inviting a derailment.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the concept of hyper-specialization in modern engineering. When we say a running shoe is built for forward motion, we aren't just saying it's, generally good at it.
Right, it's not a suggestion.
Exactly. Every single millimeter of that shoe's architecture is dedicated to a singular biomechanical goal. Heel strike, roll to the midfoot, push off the toe, over and over again in a straight line.
It's a highly tuned machine.
It really is. And to facilitate that specific linear machine, footwear engineers make uncompromising design choices.
Like what?
Well, they build up the heel with thick, plush foam to absorb the repetitive impact of striking the ground. They create a rocker shape to help propel you forward.
Right, to keep that momentum going.
Yeah. And to save weight and maximize breathability, they use extremely lightweight, flexible mesh for the upper part of the shoe.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. I'm going to act as a proxy for the listener here, because I have to ask, I thought the whole point of that thick foam was shock absorption.
It is, but...
Shouldn't more cushion protect my ankle from the impact of stopping and starting? Like, how does padding become a trap?
I get why you'd think that. But it comes down to the direction of the force. The thick foam in a running shoe is designed to compress vertically.
Okay, straight up and down.
Right. When you are running straight ahead, your weight comes down squarely on top of that foam column. It absorbs the shock perfectly.
That makes sense.
But runners don't need lateral support. They don't need the side of the shoe to hold their foot in place because their momentum is strictly forward.
Oh, I see.
So engineers actually remove all the rigid structures from the sides of the shoe. For a runner, lateral support is just unnecessary dead weight.
Wow. So the shoe essentially becomes this forward motion tube with heavy shocks on the bottom and a floozy net on top.
That's exactly what it is.
Which brings us right to the environment of the pickleball court. You take your beautifully engineered forward motion train and you drop it onto a hard court that demands constant multi-directional movement.
Yeah, the environment completely shifts the physical forces acting on your body and your gear.
Suddenly, the game demands something your footwear simply cannot do.
On a pickleball court, particularly when you're up at the kitchen line, you are rarely just running in a straight line.
Never. You're dinking, pivoting,
stopping on a dime, lunging. You're asking your body to absorb force at severe lateral angles.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We need to talk about the phrase biomechanical trap. Let's look at the juxtaposition of a simple lateral shuffle on the court and the word trap.
Yeah, it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not.
Right. I mean, a shuffle is something we learned in elementary school gym class. It's basic. Why is a harmless-sounding, everyday movement considered a trap when you're wearing these shoes?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the anatomy of a trap requires understanding psychology just as much as physics.
Psychology. How so?
Well, for a trap to be effective, the victim has to feel completely safe right up until the moment it springs.
Oh, wow.
Think about the psychology of gearing up for a game. You step onto the court, you're wearing expensive, highly engineered athletic shoes. Your brain registers these shoes as protection.
Because they're comfortable.
Exactly. They're cushioned, they feel good on your feet. You're operating under the illusion of safety.
So the comfort is the cheese on the mousetrap.
Yes, the comfort absolutely obscures the danger. You feel protected. So when the game demands that you perform a simple lateral shuffle,
Meaning you push off hard to the side to reach a passing shot.
right, you do it without hesitation. You trust your gear to handle the load. But your gear was specifically engineered to avoid handling that exact type of load.
Okay, let's visualize that physics for a second. Let's imagine a casual weekend player. We'll call him Dave.
Okay, Dave.
Dave is at the kitchen line. The ball is popped up to his right. He shuffles aggressively to his right, planting his right foot hard to stop his momentum so he can swing.
A classic pickleball move.
Right. Now, his body weight, multiplied by the speed he was moving, is all slamming into the outside edge of his right shoe. Mechanically, what gives first? Does the mesh rip? Does the shoe slide?
The failure sequence is honestly pretty stark. The rubber outsole of Dave's running shoe is likely going to grip the court floor perfectly. That part works.
Right, because it's grippy rubber.
Exactly. But the platform above the rubber gives way. Remember that thick, plush foam designed for vertical heel strike?
Yeah, the marshmallow stuff.
Yeah. When Dave pushes off the side of that high foam platform, it compresses unevenly. It's literally like trying to balance on a marshmallow. The foam squishes down on the outside edge.
Oh, wow. So the floor underneath his foot is literally tilting outwards.
The platform itself collapses under the lateral load.
Ah.
And remember the lightweight, flexible mesh upper.
The stuff that was great for a straight line runner to save weight.
Right. When Dave plants his foot laterally and the foam tilts, that mesh offers zero resistance. Dave's foot slides right off the footbed.
That is awful.
The shoe's sole is glued to the court floor, but Dave's foot is rolling right over the side of the shoe.
The shoe stops, but the foot keeps going sideways.
Mm-hmm.
That is a terrifying image.
It is. There is zero lateral containment. And because his foot is elevated on that thick running cushion, the cushion acts as a lever. It accelerates the rolling motion.
So the shoe is making it worse.
Exactly. The shoe, which Dave thought was protecting him, is actually amplifying the destructive force of the lateral shuffle.
Man, so the simple movement becomes a structural nightmare because the shoe allows the foot to move in a way the human ankle and tendon complex just cannot tolerate under load.
Exactly.
Because the force has to go somewhere. The energy of Dave stopping and pushing doesn't just disappear into the air because his shoe is made of soft mesh. It transfers directly into his anatomy.
Right into the tissues.
And that brings us to the catastrophic failure. We aren't talking about a blister here.
No.
We aren't talking about a rolled ankle that needs some ice and elevation. We are talking about the largest, strongest tendon in the human body tearing apart, the Achilles tendon.
The mechanics of the Achilles tendon are remarkable, but they have distinct limits. The Achilles connects your calf muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus, down to your heel bone, or calcaneus.
It's basically the biological spring that lets you walk and jump.
Yes. And it's designed to handle an immense amount of tension, absorbing forces up to 10 times your body weight.
10 times, wow.
Yeah, but again, it is designed to handle that tension primarily in a linear direction. It stretches and recoils straight up and down.
So if I'm picturing this, it's like taking a really thick, heavy-duty industrial rubber band.
Okay, I like that visual.
If you pull it straight back, it can stretch incredibly far. It has massive tensile strength. But if you stretch it tight, and then you try to twist it sharply at an angle while dragging it across a sharp edge.
It snaps.
Right.
That is the exact mechanical breakdown. When Dave's foot rolls over the edge of the running shoe during that lateral shuffle, his heel bone tilts severely.
The geometry just collapses.
Completely. The Achilles tendon, which is already under high tension from his body weight and the kinetic energy of his movement, is suddenly subjected to massive twisting off-axis torque.
Ouch.
You're asking it to hold the load while simultaneously shearing it at an angle it was never engineered to withstand.
And when it goes, it's not a slow, nagging pain. I mean, people describe an Achilles rupture in incredibly visceral terms.
The physical collapse under load is sudden and complete. People who experience an Achilles rupture on the court often report feeling like they were kicked or even shot in the back of the leg.
Seriously, like they were shot.
Yeah, they literally look around to see who hit them only to realize no one is there. It's the sudden, explosive failure of their own internal anatomy.
All because the foundation they were standing on, their specialized forward motion shoe, gave way underneath them.
Exactly.
It really makes you imagine the devastating suddenness of it all.
Yeah.
Like Dave is having a great time playing a Saturday morning game. He does a simple sidestep, a dinky's hit 100 times, and then bang, he's on the floor, his tendon is torn, he's facing surgery, months of grueling rehabilitation, having to learn how to walk normally again. All from a simple lateral shuffle.
Because he grabbed his running shoes on the way out the door instead of court shoes.
Yeah.
This raises an important question about how we evaluate the tools we use in our daily lives. The consequence of this mismatch isn't just a minor inconvenience, it is a profound structural failure.
Definitely.
What makes it so frustrating from a biomechanical perspective is that it is entirely preventable. The trap only exists because of the mismatch between the specialized tool and the environmental task.
So how do we equip ourselves properly? We've diagnosed the problem and we've mapped out the trap.
Right.
If I'm listening to this and realizing my closet is full of running shoes, what is the actual engineering difference in a proper court shoe? Like what makes it safe for lateral movement?
Court shoes are engineered with a completely different set of biomechanical priorities. First, they're built much lower to the ground.
Okay, so less foam.
Right, they have what we call a lower drop, meaning the heel is not artificially elevated on a thick stack of foam. This removes the lever effect we talked about earlier.
That makes sense.
Second, the midsole is constructed using much denser, firmer materials, often TPU or high-density rubber instead of the soft EVA foam found in running shoes.
So it's more stable.
Exactly. This dense platform does not squish unevenly when you apply a lateral force.
Right, so no marshmallow effect. Yeah. Floor stays flat under your foot even when you push off sideways.
Precisely that. And perhaps most importantly, court shoes incorporate rigid containment structures.
What does that look like?
They have reinforced uppers, heavy stitching, and often literal plastic or rubber outriggers built into the outside edge of the shoe.
An outrigger, like on a canoe?
Kind of, yeah. An outrigger is a slight widening of the sole on the lateral side that acts like a kickstand. When you shuffle aggressively to the side, that outrigger catches the floor and prevents the shoe from rolling over.
Oh, that's brilliant.
The entire architecture of the court shoe is designed to lock your foot in place and support the geometry of your ankle during multi-directional torque.
That makes perfect sense. But if I'm standing in a sporting goods store, looking at a wall of 200 different athletic shoes, they all kind of look similar to the untrained eye.
They really do.
They all have mesh, they all have rubber soles. How do I, as a consumer, test a shoe right there in the aisle to make sure it has the lateral support I need for pickleball?
You need a practical way to evaluate the gear. And there is a simple three-part physical checklist you can perform on any shoe before you buy it.
Okay, let's hear it.
The first is the torsional rigidity test. Pick up the shoe, hold the heel in one hand and the toe in the other, and try to wring it out like a wet towel.
Wait, wring it out, like twisting the toe and heel in opposite directions?
Yes, literally twist it. If the shoe twists easily in the middle, put it back on the shelf.
Really?
Yeah. A good court shoe will have a rigid shank through the midfoot. It should fiercely resist your attempt to twist it. That resistance is what keeps your foot from shearing during a lateral stop.
Okay, so the torsional rigidity test. Wring it like a towel. What is the second test?
The second is the heel counter pinch. The heel counter is the very back part of the shoe that cups your heel.
Right.
Take your thumb and index finger and squeeze the sides of the heel counter. If it collapses easily under the pressure of your fingers, it is not going to hold your heel bone in place when your entire body weight shifts laterally.
That's a great visual. If I can clutch it with 2 fingers, it's not going to hold my body weight.
Exactly. A proper court shoe will have a solid, almost rock-hard plastic cup hidden inside that fabric to lock the heel down.
Got it. And the third test?
The third is the platform push. Place the shoe flat on the floor or a bench, put your hand inside the shoe, and push hard outward against the side mesh, specifically near the pinky toe area.
Okay, pushing from the inside out.
Then, look at the sole. Does the side material stretch way out past the edge of the rubber sole?
Ah, checking for the spillover.
Right. If the upper material gives way while the sole stays put, you are looking at a biomechanical trap. You want to feel rigid resistance. You want to see that the side of the shoe has an outrigger or firm containment that stops your hand from pushing past the platform.
Wow. Wring the towel, pinch the heel, push the platform. That is incredibly actionable. It takes the guesswork completely out of it.
It really does.
You can't just grab the most comfortable pair of sneakers by the door and assume you're good to go.
Mm.
The comfort is lying to you.
The comfort is the bait in the trap. A highly cushioned running shoe will almost always feel more comfortable when you first slip it on in the store.
Right, because it's all soft.
But a court shoe might feel a bit stiffer, a bit lower, maybe even slightly heavier. But that stiffness is your armor.
I love that. Stiffness is armor.
Knowledge and a critical physical evaluation of your footwear are your only real defenses against this specific danger. You have to look at the tool and ask, what was this designed to do, and what am I about to ask it to do?
And if those two answers don't perfectly align, you're putting yourself at immense risk.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean? If we distill this deep dive down to its core essence for you, the listener, the lesson is clear. Your footwear must perfectly match the biomechanical demands of your movement, period.
No exceptions.
The pickleball court is absolutely no place for forward-only shoes. Wearing a running shoe to play a court sport isn't just a suboptimal choice. It is a structural hazard that sets a biomechanical trap.
Turning a routine side-to-side shuffle into a life-altering, catastrophic Achilles tendon rupture.
You have to match the tool to the environment.
And, knowledge is most valuable when it is understood and then actively applied to our lives. Listening to this analysis is one thing, but applying it means actually walking to your closet right now.
Right, go do it.
Picking up the shoes you plan to wear to your next match and running them through that checklist. Do they twist like a towel? Are the sides made of soft, unreinforced mesh?
If they are built purely for forward motion, you must leave them off the court.
Understanding this distinction is the key to avoiding a devastating injury.
It's about respecting the physics of your own body and not taking your gear for granted. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, I'm ready.
We've spent all this time dissecting how a specialized, highly engineered, incredibly helpful tool like a running shoe can become a literal physical trap the very second we step sideways into a new environment.
Right.
It makes perfect sense when we look at the biomechanics. But let's zoom out. If a physical tool can collapse under load so drastically when the context changes,
Right.
what other highly specialized forward motion tools or rigid mental frameworks or deeply ingrained daily habits in our lives are secretly setting us up for a catastrophic failure when life suddenly requires us to make a sharp lateral shift?
That is a great question.
Think about that the next time you lace up your shoes. Thank you for listening to Pickleball Partner, the podcast. We look forward to the next deep dive.